Alright, I just have finished the remaining 4 Harry Potter games almost a month later. How long did this take, you may ask? 2.5 months. I started this like 2 to 3 days before school started, I believe. I think it was like August 7th, August 8th, I started on this project. But I didn't start fully committing to the project until about August 23rd. A day after I got Runway SA22, because I was like, I'm retiring a little bit after I get this. So this is what I've been doing, as you may know. This is part 2. I have my tier lists in front of me, so I'll try to remember what observations I made from the previous games. So here we go. So obviously the worst is still as Goblet of Fire. Okay. Like I said, I could get hate for some Goblet of Fire lovers out there, but I don't know who the fuck loves Goblet of Fire. At least the game. The films and the books, I can absolutely understand Goblet of Fire being loved here. But they absolutely fumbled the game. The format sucks, as you may remember. The format sucks. It's in format where, oh, you have to collect these Triwizard Shields. A certain amount to unlock this next location. Okay, cool, yeah. But what does it cover? Absolutely nothing. It only covers the most iconic things in the part right there. Like, obviously, it's gonna include all the 3 tasks to Triwizard Tournament and the Voldemort fight, which, mind you, is still the hardest and worst boss fight out of these games I've played. So, I mean, the cool thing is, Ron with his brains part, remember, like, brain. Anyway, well, that's the one funny thing I would say about Goblet of Fire, is, like, Ron going on about his beans and then Hermione complaining to him about it. But otherwise, I don't really have any much positives to say about this game. It is mostly negatives to say about this. It is the worst game in existence. The previous company would have put more effort into this one. Next is Order of the Phoenix. Okay. So, okay. I can agree that this one is underappreciated, but at the same time, this was pretty boring to me, to be honest. I don't know what to say. I mean, it tells more story than Goblet of Fire did, obviously. But what was it? You check the Marauders map every 5 goddamn seconds and check which missions you have. Every 5 seconds, you're like, oh, I don't know where to go. You press select, go into the freaking Marauders map, like, oh, this is who I have to find, and this is where I have to go. But luckily, the footstep shadows leads your way. That is one thing one detail I did not notice until later in the game. But that's pretty cool. That part is cool. But the game is pretty much is do your missions, check your Marauders map every 5 seconds, and be like, oh, this is where I have to go? Okay, cool. There's still a lot of things I have to do with this game. I'm gonna go at to eventually do 100% it. But the positive is it told more story than Goblet of Fire did. I absolutely loved it. But the overall feel of the game was pretty boring. The movement system was janky. The motion... Oh, God, for fuck's sake. Do not even get me started about the motion controls, man. The motion controls is the worst thing in this game to ever exist. But luckily, they amped it up since. I will tell you that, but I'll point out the other details later. Next. Deathly Hallows 1. To me, this felt similar to Order of the Phoenix in terms of how the overall feel is. But except you don't have a Marauders map, the game just gives you missions to do. Be like, oh, you go into this level, you have to rescue this many Muggleborns, or whatever mission it gives you. The motion controls are way better. You can even adjust the camera sensitivity, which is nice. The combat system was really good. I loved it. But I don't feel like Deathly Hallows actually gets good until, like, around half. I will say that much about Deathly Hallows. As much as I love that part, it just doesn't get good to, like, half of the game. Or anything, personally. But, I mean, they really stepped up their game with this one. I will say that. I don't know. It just didn't really feel like that great of a game, in a sense. There were most parts I definitely struggled a lot with. The controls, the Wii remote controls will feel really weird at first, so you gotta actually get used to it, but the motion controls themselves are really good. It's really improved compared to what they've done with Order of the Phoenix. But other than that, there's not really much to say about Deathly Hallows Part 1. Next, Chamber of Secrets. As I said previously about Chamber of Secrets, the overall feel is similar to Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone, wherever you're part in the world. But the overall feel of the game is really similar. It's about the same because, well, it's the same company that made the game. Then I'll point out the negatives first before I go into the positives. The negatives of this game: the save system is shit. The shittiest save system there is out of the 8 games. You're like, oh, you can't save while clicking pause. You have to go as far back as we tell you to find this slip of paper, whatever it is, to click save. I appreciate their experiment, better than that they experimented with Goblet of Fire, but it was shitty. I'm going to say that much. It was bad. It was really bad. And how you could explore Hogwarts was really restricted as well. So let's say in Sorcerer's Stone, you were able to actually walk to Hagrid's hut from the entrance to the entrance hall, right? But what does Chamber of Secrets do? It separates the path into 4 different paths. Because, you go straight, takes you straight to the Quidditch Stadium. It loads you into it instead of you actually letting you walk over there. It's technically free roam, but it's not as free roam as the first game was. It was really restricted. Really restrictive. The positives, though, the story was definitely really fun. The boss fight was also pretty cool once you actually get used to it. I mean, it's not much else to say about it. I feel like it feels similar to Sorcerer's Stone in terms of, or Philosopher's Stone in terms of how the pacing was and how accurate it was between the movies and books. It's overall a good feel. I would recommend checking this one out. Next one. Half-Blood Prince. Or Half-Blood Prince. Alright. Oh, what the hell? Okay, there we go. Number 4, Half-Blood Prince. Hear me out. Hear me out. Alright. Hear me out. I can already sense the heat. I can already sense the heat over here. I can already sense the heat. Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. Half-Blood Prince better than Chamber of Secrets, hear me out, alright? Combat system is the greatest fucking thing to exist out of the 8 games. It is super good. I will glaze the fuck out of it. I will glaze it all. I will glaze this combat system with my life. I will defend it with my life. This, from Order of the Phoenix, the motion controls are super good. It is super good. It is really amped up compared to what they did with Order of the Phoenix. The movement mechanics is way better. The sprinting mechanics is the only negative, really, about the mechanics. But other than that, it is super good. Then Nearly Headless Nick being your guide instead of having to check the Marauders map every 5 seconds, cool. Combat system with spells, cool. How you do the spells, even better. What could you also do? Potions. Kind of like you would be able to do in Deathly Hallows Part 1 on the DS, is what I grew up with. Which is why it has a special place in my heart. But Half-Blood Prince, you're able to do potions. The combat system is good. The motion controls are way better. I liked how they experimented with the crests, but I haven't got them all yet, so that'll be another journey I'll have to do. But the crest, I mean, it's creative, but where you don't know where all 150 are, you're gonna have to look at the internet guide for what the first 125, and then wherever is, like, wherever other objects are scattered around Hogwarts to get the remaining 25. But anyway. But another negative is, I do feel like the pacing was a little too quick for me. The fact that I was able to beat this game pretty quickly was, I don't know how to feel about it. That's the only thing I'll say is, I feel like, I mean, it does tell the story as it would. But obviously it's gonna start with, like, Malfoy's a Death Eater. Let's see what he's up to, like, for, like, I don't know how many minutes. But I feel like the story was just a little too quick of a pace for me. But what makes it better than Chamber of Secrets was I actually overall enjoyed this game from start to finish, really. I actually overall enjoyed it. That's all I'm going to have to say about it. Next one. Philosopher's Stone. I could probably already sense heat of this not being number 2. But this starting out the entire series is phenomenal. This is a phenomenal start from the books, the movies, and the games. All 3 are phenomenal starts to this Wizarding world. It will always be iconic since it's the first one. It is super iconic. It is super nostalgic. It is super good. Hogwarts, when you're playing the game and you're realizing how free roam Hogwarts is, you'll feel like you're a child again, probably. If you're an older guy or older person playing this game, and you played it as a kid, and you're roaming around Hogwarts, you'll feel like a kid again. It is that good. But how this started out, I like how book accurate it was when, let's say, Harry grabs it. When the wand chooses him, there's a line in the book that says, somewhere in the book that says, Harry grabs the wand and he raises it up, right? And what does the movie do? It sits there and there's a light that just, right? But what does he do here? Raises up the wand. That's what he does. So there's a lot of aspects here to the first 2 games that is both book and movie accurate. Except Snape, he looks like the freaking prince from Shrek, but keep that out of mind, please. Keep that out of mind. And the only nitpick I have of the first 2 games is, what's the normal color of Hufflepuff? Yellow. What did they do here? Purple. I was told it was too expensive to animate, but by that logic, why would there be other yellow parts in the game, but they couldn't do that one simple part? But that's not a big nitpick, it's just a color issue. But anyway, Hogwarts is super free roam. Being able to explore it all, it's cool. Being able to feel the magical vibe of the overall start of the game was awesome. There were some parts I struggled with, obviously, that's how it is with every game. But if you're wanting to get into any Harry Potter game, I would recommend this one or Chamber of Secrets for sure, but I would recommend this one over it. And this... Alright. So... What the... Alright, so... Number 2. Deathly Hallows Part 2. This placement here, it could just me being biased, but this part is my absolute favorite of all the Harry Potter series. It is my absolute favorite. I am gonna have to say it. It is my absolute favorite. And I just now finished this today, mind you, along with the other part of Deathly Hallows. But this one was my absolute favorite of the series. So, I like how you can play through the different characters' perspectives. Let's say, when you're at the end of the game, you're like, you have Harry and Voldemort facing each other, then it switches you to freaking Ron and Hermione trying to get the last Horcrux, and then, which is Nagini, and then you have Ginny and all of them fighting the other Death Eaters, and then Molly and Bellatrix fight, which is awesome. Switching the different spells to the D-pad was a really cool mechanic. Once you get used to everything, you could be able to get through this game pretty easily. There's not any side missions or much of anything to collect to 100% the game. It's just play through the game and complete it, pretty much. It wasn't really formatted in levels like Deathly Hallows Part 1 was. It was formatted into this whole setting of the Battle of Hogwarts. It was like watching the film, but actually playing the game and controlling the film scenes. This is what it felt like. It can be boring at times if you don't have the patience, but for me, I was just enjoying it all, man. I don't know. I'm just really biased when it comes to Deathly Hollows Part 2. I can tolerate some slander, but I'm not going to tolerate too much Part 2 slander, okay? There's some things that are not as effective as it was in the films. Like Snape's death. You're like, when he says you have your mother's eyes, it was not as effective here. Oh yeah, I forgot another negative. During Dumbledore's death, this is really not as effective in the games at all. It's really not. But the negatives here, I don't really have much negatives to say about Deathly Hollows Part 2, if I'm being real. There's really no negatives to here. That's why it's this high in the spots. And of course, number 1, along with Aaron would put this, Prisoner of Azkaban. Best of the 8 games. Best of the 8 games right here. This, what me and Aaron described it as, this is basically Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone, and Chamber of Secrets combined, but better. This is what Chamber of Secrets should have been, in terms of how the save mechanic worked, in terms of how the game worked. This is how Chamber of Secrets should have been. Being real. The fact you could control the entire trio instead of controlling Harry was awesome. It was a really great change-up they decided to experiment with, and it was a success in my opinion. And then you're able to control Hedwig for some time. Then you're able to control Buckbeak for some time. You can control a lot of shit with this game. How cool is that? Very cool, if you ask me. It is really cool. I actually like this. The story and the pacing was very good as well. They paced it very good here. I absolutely liked it. Hogwarts seems a little bigger here, but it's the same free roam level as Philosopher's Stone was. It's the same exact level, but Hogwarts feels bigger here. So if you're trying to run to Hagrid's hut or below that, it can be boring just running down because you're like, ugh. But yeah, it's gonna be like that for all free roam parts. But otherwise, I absolutely love this. The only negative I'm gonna give it is finding the remaining wizard cards. All sets of cards. I had to use the internet to find the remaining ones. Because if I didn't, I was gonna be stuck in this game forever. But other than that, the positives pretty much outweigh that negative. So, I could get some heat from my placements, but I ain't worried about it. This is just all my own opinion. And keep in mind, this was the GameCube and Wii versions of each game. Okay? Goblet of Fire, there's nothing changing my mind about my Goblet of Fire placement. Absolutely nothing is changing my mind about my Goblet of Fire placement. Half-Blood Prince could change. It's debatable, but I actually enjoyed it personally. I don't know, there's much changing my Deathly Hollows Part 2 placement. I'm, like, super biased to that one. There's nothing putting this out of my heart. There's nothing changing this. But, the project has been done. Hope you all been patient and sticking with me. Thank you for watching, staying tuned, comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next piece of content. Peace.